Hello and welcome to When the Bit Hits the Fan. I'm Jamie Nelson and I'm the host, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jamie Nelson1, and I am here with Shem Booth. And Shem, good to have you on the show. And what's your Twitter address?
It's Shem Booth One. Thanks for having me on the show, Jamie. It's a pleasure. We've been talking about a lot of stuff, so hopefully we're going to cover some of those subjects tonight.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we don't skip too much information because we've been talking about this stuff off the air, and we've been getting to kind of know each other, and it's been great getting to know each other. This Google Hangouts is just amazing. I'm here in the US and you're over in the UK, and I was talking to you yesterday or the day before, I think it was, and I was sitting on my couch with my tablet, and that was just, and you had your cell phone with your video going, but hopefully you can get a camera here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We was covering some fantastic subjects, and this technology thing really brings people together, I think, and it's one of the growing trends. So, I hope we managed to convey some of the fantastic things we've been discussing tonight, or lately tonight, and share with the viewers out there. Why don't you take it away, Jamie?
Okay, well, first off, I wanted to thank Mad Bitcoins for being on the show last week and helping me get started. He was a great help. He showed me some tricks with this Hangouts, and I thank him for his experience. And he did a wonderful job over the weekend of taking video and posting things to Twitter and YouTube with the Bitcoin and the Beltway in Washington, D.C. They didn't have Wi-Fi in the basement there where they held the conference and the speeches, so he had to run back to his room and upload the videos and go outside the room or the conference every time he had to make a tweet. So it was kind of a chore, but hopefully some of the stuff we're going to talk about here with the mesh networking and things, we can get past that stage where we don't have to worry about that sort of thing.
Absolutely, and just for anyone out there, Jamie, just recap some of the people and what some of the conversations that's been on the news about Bitcoin Beltway.
Yeah, the Bitcoin and the Beltway was a conference this past weekend in Washington, D.C., where it was a lot of people were in D.C. to promote Bitcoin and talk about how Bitcoin is beneficial to mankind and how to think about currency and money and things different than the traditional ways of thinking about it, and hopefully to keep government regulations and things and try to keep the paradigm that we have now with government and the use of force and everything and coming in to try and regulate and set all these unnecessary things in there just so they can control Bitcoin.
And some of the speakers in Bitcoin Beltway, are pretty heavy hitters. It's great that there's a kind of real growing community.
Yeah, I know, like Christoph Atlas, I haven't got to see his talk yet, but I saw some of the slides from it. He had a great talk about Silk Road and the, how just because somebody has different, a different set of standards, somebody might be against smoking pot or whatever, and this group over here, it's fine with them. I personally, I don't use it, but I have nothing against people that do, but I don't think we should you know, because I don't do something, I don't think we should go and forcefully break down their doors and take it away from them, or you know, make them stop using it or whatever, as long as they're not hurting anybody else and they kind of keep it to themselves. If they're not out hurting anybody else and it's voluntary exchanges between consenting adults,
Mm.
we should leave them alone.
Mm. Mm. And I understand that there was a little piece of research quite recently about how because of Silk Road, there had been a drop in violent crime, and so there's this kind of link between this kind of as professional professional eBay style auctions between consenting adults that want to buy a, you know, as it is today, contraband. I think this is probably part of a wider issue of the prohibition on drugs. What do you
Right.
think?
And we saw the same thing back in history with the prohibition on alcohol in the United States, where in the 1920s they outlawed alcohol here, and that
Mm.
led to some of the largest crime organizations in history, where they were smuggling whiskey from Canada, and all the um, backwoods, you know, distilleries and things where people were making whiskey and all this bourbon and stuff out in the woods behind their shed, and that stuff may have not necessarily been the safest stuff to drink, the stuff a guy was making behind his shed.
Like moonshine. And wasn't it quite recently that Uruguay legalized the production of cannabis, and they've just cut the legal illicit cannabis market apart, you know, in one foul legal swoop, you know? And is it so that also I understand a few American states have decriminalized it? Is that so with some of them?
I know Colorado and I believe Washington State have. I'm not I'm not sure what else has, but I know Colorado has, and I had read something that they had a pretty significant drop in their crime rate afterwards, and they were really kind of embarrassed over it because that wasn't, of course, the outlook or the what they expected to happen. You know, they figured, oh, everybody's going to be high and out of their minds, and well, that isn't what happened.
Absolutely. And I just going back to Bitcoin Beltway, I've just found a list of some of the speakers there. And Cody Wilson, Defense Distributed Dark Wallet, he's the guy that obviously did the 3D printed gun, and quite recently Dark Wallet,
Yes.
yeah, which is you know, an anonymizing style wallet for, you know, making completely anonymous transactions and Bitcoin wallets on the Bitcoin network. And you know, we were talking about that the other day, wasn't we? About how, you know, it's quasi pseudo anonymous, the Bitcoin, but with those things, obviously, it's in the alpha stage. Was it you mentioned?
Yeah, I think they just released their Alpha 4, so it's you don't want to use it for real Bitcoins yet. It's not something that you want to put real money in. It's something that's to be used on the test Bitcoin blockchain, and you know it's still in development, um, but it's something they've been working on it for quite some time. I heard about it, I think, way back in last December, which, I mean, that's 7 months ago, which is a long time in Bitcoin time now.
Mm.
And they, you know, Cody Wilson has been a real innovator, I think, in the Bitcoin space and with the 3D printing and things. I first heard about him, of course, probably about the 3D guns or the 3D printed guns because I'm a gun enthusiast,
Hmm.
and I found that fascinating, and I just thought it was strange that everybody was losing their minds over these 3D printed guns because anybody, you can make guns with hand tools or anything, all that you need is just because they made them out of plastic wasn't that revolutionary, except for, more people would be able to make them, but you would still have to have access to a 3D printer.
And we was talking the other day about guns, wasn't we? Obviously, I'm from England, and we have very strict gun laws, and we was talking about the culture of guns, hunting and part of the livelihood and part of society and responsible usage of guns. And you mentioned, wasn't it, that you guys took guns to school to learn how to use them. They asked, bring your gun in, and we'll show you. So I think there's some really interesting kind of sub-narratives under there, about obviously the usage of guns. And obviously, we're all pro-responsible tools, be it a hammer, be it a knife, be it a gun, it's the responsible usage of that.
Yeah, it's, I don't quite understand why people think that they want to outlaw guns, and, like I said, anybody with a chisel and a file can make a gun. And, I load my own ammunition and stuff. It's just something that I got into and know how to do. And it's not that difficult to do if you know how to do it. So the idea of outlawing it just seems kind of ridiculous to me, because if a person is set on doing harm to somebody else, I mean, you could do a lot more damage with a car than you can with a gun. I mean, you don't see people trying to outlaw cars because they might go run over a playground full of children.
And also, I'm looking on the list of the Bitcoin Beltway, Jamie, there's Charlie Shem, obviously his connection to Bitcoin. Do you want to run over a little bit about the background for anyone that doesn't know Charlie Shem?
Why don't you? I didn't really pay a lot of attention to that. I just know very little.
Okay, so Charlie Shem obviously is the kind of American entrepreneur and Bitcoin advocate. He was obviously the kind of co-founder and CEO of the startup company BitInstant, and he was in a bit of a pickle when he was quite recently found to be involved in I think it was the Silk Road network. So there's some court cases and legal stuff going on at the moment to do with that.
Yeah, and then the U.S. Marshal Service ended up, I'm not sure who actually confiscated the Bitcoins, if it was the FBI or if it was the Marshal Service that confiscated them or whatever. But anyway, the Marshal Service has them now, and they are auctioning them off, I believe, on Friday. And it was like, I believe, 30,000 of them.
Absolutely. So, this is the seizure of those Bitcoins from the Silk Road that they're then reselling out to, obviously, the highest bidder. And that's been quite the talk of the week, isn't it? That's one of the narratives going on, because, some of the people involved, obviously I was one of the people that was looking at the price and, investigating, as well as other people, but there was some real serious contenders there for some well-known names, but also also some corporations and companies that no one expected. And on Coinbase you'll see some of the names on there. But we spoke the other night about it, because when the U.S. Marshal Service responded to me, they CC'd everyone in, and there was 72 emails, and I kind of replied to all and said, hey guys, have they just CC'd us all in? My name's Shem Spain, welcome. And one of the great things about the Bitcoin space is the real sense that everyone's open for business, everyone's open for creating great contacts, and no one was kind of shady about anything, and suddenly everyone started exchanging LinkedIn profiles, and I had sort of like 750 plus peaks at my LinkedIn profile after that day, from other people, and just a lot, a really good feeling, Jamie, when people are out there and they want to. Yeah, they want to innovate, they want to progress, they want to develop their businesses. Everyone's feeling good about it. I think there was one guy that was kind of like a bit paranoid, going, "Oh, no one say my name," and
Yeah.
okay, Jeremy112@gmail.com. Who is that guy?
And you and I, and that's kind of how you and I met, was I mistook what you had said on another interview, and I had mistakenly reiterated that you were pro-government thievery, and I apologize again for that, because that
Oh,
was
you don't have to apologize. You're a legend.
I went back later and I listened to the beginning of that interview and how you were talking about, how it was being laundered.
Virus database has been updated.
Oh, great. My virus database has been updated.
You're secure.
Oh.
That's the NSA. No. Did he just mention us? Get me a tap on Jamie.
Yeah.
But no, you're right, and this is the great thing about this kind of community, and anyone out there watching this on YouTube or live right now, make sure you check us out. Both add us on Twitter, Jamie Nelson 1 and Shem Booth 1. And there's so much great stuff out there at the moment. People that are building on top of this blockchain technology. And let's just kind of recap and go back to the beginning, because this is quite a fascinating story about the Bitcoin thing itself. I mean, there was a guy, as I understand it, Satoshi, this kind of elusive individual programmer that developed this initial code, and he worked with some other people. And the white paper, Jamie, have you read that initial white paper from Satoshi?
Oh no, I can't read that whole thing. That's
too much code for anyone.
I mean, it would be easier to sit down and read the Bible in one sitting.
But the great thing is about that, you really get a sense that some of the emails that Satoshi talks about, you can tell that the guy's pissed off at the global economic crisis, and the guy's angry about it and kind of wants to do something that's going to sideswipe and sort some of the problems out. So he's building this tech, Bitcoin, the blockchain code, and he's thinking to himself, he wants to write out the problems inherent in our current financial system, money manipulation. And wasn't it earlier, Jamie, we was talking about, I read a fantastic article today about, capitalism, and kind of, I'm not against capitalism, I'm not against people making money and earning a fair living, I'm not kind of, some, anarchist or anything like that. I'm pro-life, I'm pro-innovation, and I don't really live in isms, but what we are is...
I got to stop you quick there.
Sorry, bro, I was going.
You said anarchism. I think you have the wrong conception of what anarchism is.
Mm-hmm.
I describe myself as an anarchist. Anarchist is someone that believes in voluntary transactions and, free market association. It just means without rulers, or no rulers. There's hierarchies and monarchies and things like that. Anarchy is just no archy.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose, if anything, one of the characteristics of Bitcoin technology and the ecosystem is that essentially there is no middleman. There's no bank to say, massive fees. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Visa, MasterCard, and the payment systems that have kind of, for the last 50 years have been, making a lot of money through something essentially quite simple. I mean, what do you think? Do you think they're going to be disrupted? Do you think they're going to be out of business?
I went to the gas station this morning, and
Right.
their credit card system was down, so they had lines backed up 5 people deep at 4 registers,
Whoa.
and because they couldn't take credit cards. And so all the people that didn't have cash had to go to the ATM somewhere else and get cash. I happened to have enough cash on me to pay for what I was getting, but I said to the manager, I'm like, you guys need to get Bitcoin here.
Yeah, where's your Bitcoin sticker? And this is funny you mentioned that actually, because I was actually seeing, I was rolling through Facebook, and I saw loads of people like going, oh my God, there's a, they're trying at the world, they're trying to make a cashless society, new world order, da da. And I said to them, I said, guys, Bitcoin is it really going to solve several different problems? And there was a fantastic article as well I read today that was about the 5 different phases of the adoption of Bitcoin. And I'd love to bring it back up. I can't find it. We can come back to it in a bit, but we're in stage 2. This guy kind of mentioned it, and he was talking about, first there's the kind of early adopters, people like yourself that understand the technology, that have got a conceptual understanding of how it works on a tech side and use it. Then there's a kind of second layer of people like myself that they come on board, they can see how it can be used, they start using it, and more and more. And the third stage is the Wall Street stage, where Wall Street start coming on, and we can see that stage right now where who's that guy that recently, Jamie, saying that I'm going to defend Bitcoin in Congress? Let me get.
I don't remember, because I don't pay much attention to the political people, but I saw some headline that, yeah, I'm going to defend Bitcoin in Congress, and I'm like,
vote for me.
I'd rather you just ignored it.
Yeah, just forget about it. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, but
and also in the just jumping back to some of the things that are happening right now for any of the listeners out there, the Isle of the Isle of Jersey, that was it, in southern England, island off the south of England. They're going to try to get it a kind of Bitcoin isle. But unfortunately, no one's selling anything in Bitcoin yet. But you can keep your Bitcoins there for a nominal fee. No.
Yeah, I'd heard something too, like the Isle of Wight or something.
Yeah, well, these guys down in Jersey. Now, Jersey is one of those kind of leafy green, a nice island, cows and things like that. And they're really trying to get it accepted over in there, and just try to get it as a kind of safe island, And it could be obviously a significant opportunity for the Jersey, but they've got a lot of infrastructure down there, financial services, all the kind of stuff anywhere else, but they kind of exist as a kind of special place when it comes to tax, I believe. So, that's
so
what we're
kind of like a Hong Kong of England.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking. But like we were saying the other day, we want more people to come on board the Bitcoin journey. More, no, we don't want harsh regulation. It would be brilliant if a mainstream bank was to say, we're going to do Bitcoins and we'll look after your coins in cold storage or whatever, and rather than fight.
There are some places that are doing that, like Circle in,
right?
I'm trying to think where they are. They're in Massachusetts, I think, and that's what they do, is they're essentially a bank, and they're trying to get older people into Bitcoin by doing that very thing, and they're going to have cold storage and all of that, and people can go deposit their cash or their US dollars, and they'll put it into Bitcoin and keep it in cold storage for them and keep it safe for them, I guess.
And it's funny you say that as well, because I understand that the Swiss Bitcoin, Switzerland, which has obviously been the land of traditional and extremely safe banking.
Yeah.
They've taken a very unorthodox step, I believe, in allowing an organisation, the Swiss Bitcoin Exchange, has been authorised by their national regulatory authority. So that's really good. I think it's a guy, Alexis, down there. So you know, that's really good that rather than fighting it, those guys are saying, yeah, you know, come on board and do business here, you know, and do it in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was surprised because last week I had heard that they were gonna, or they wouldn't allow the Bitcoin ATMs in Switzerland, and I'm like, the banking system is fighting Bitcoin over there. And then I had heard a few days later that, oh yeah, now we're gonna allow them.
They probably said, there's so much money to be made in this, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Bitcoin ATM to follow.
because yeah, what I was seeing, and I haven't got to see an actual Bitcoin ATM yet. We don't have them around where I live, but I know the local, or anywhere that I've seen on local Bitcoins, they are getting about a 7% markup for over what the online price is going for buying Bitcoins, you know, like through Coinbase or a outfit like that. So if you buy them for cash from somebody off the street, you're going to pay about 8% more than what the online price is, which is, you know, about 45 bucks more now. So if they're going for 600 bucks online, you can expect to pay about 640 from Joe down the street.
And we've had a couple of them in London up here. So they've been mostly in a place, Shoreditch, which is near Hoxton. For any of you guys in the UK, I understand some people in Manchester were coming down buying them from there. But as you rightly say, Jamie, you know, there's probably going to be a little bit of marginal fee on top of that just to kind of recoup the costs of the ATMs initially. But just jumping on to another bit of news that I think is quite relevant for our discussion as well is also Canada. I believe they've kind of implemented the kind of first official national law on Bitcoin use, which I think that was today or the other day that happened. So it was over there. They've basically been toying with the idea of regulation for some time, and basically the Montreal Economic Institution mentioned some of the stuff that they want to do is to kind of implement provisions. Let me kind of read some of the blurb here because I think it's kind of Bitcoin laundering that they're concerned about, and there's this kind of sub layer of fear that obviously, you know, Bitcoin could be used for you know, laundering, but surely with the fact of blockchain, Jamie, I'm assuming that if someone really wanted to find out if someone's laundering, they could probably find them. Is that so?
Well, the way actual Bitcoin, the brand Bitcoin or whatever you want to call it, actual real Bitcoins, not Vericoin or, you know, all these altcoins, but actual Bitcoin, the ones that cost $600 each now, on that blockchain, it can be traced. And I know Christoph Atlas has an program that's going to be released probably this week that will be able to do a lot of that, because he's a big privacy advocate, and there's been a lot of misinformation going around about the anonymity of Bitcoin, and we've been trying to get the information out there that Bitcoin is not 100% anonymous. If people try hard enough, they can find out how or who bought what and who bought what. But it is difficult. It's very difficult to do, but difficulty doesn't stop, like, the NSA from tracking it. I mean, if you got a supercomputer and you got the right program to track it, they can do it. I kind of, the best way I heard anonymity described was, you know, okay, if there's 7 billion people in the world, if you find out one thing about the person, like, is it a man or a woman, well, now you got it narrowed down to 350 billion, or I mean 3.5 billion. So everything you learn about something, you cut those odds in half of your anonymity. And
that's the thing with the guy doing obviously dark wallet, you know, to obviously kind of plug a hole in that problem, because obviously that pseudo anonymity is one of the potential, you know, open, you know, it's quite visible transactions, isn't it, on the blockchain?
yeah, and you know, there people, you can add those little messages when you put transactions through and things like that, which, you know, that's why I can see use for more than one type of blockchain for currency, because sometimes you want your transactions to be public view and you want it to be totally transparent. I mean, I want all the government transactions to be transparent, and all of that stuff should be on the blockchain. And
wouldn't it be an interesting world? I mean, this kind of more transparency, I think, is a really positive thing. You know, I know some people like oh my God, you know, my Silk Road transactions are visible.
And see, what they did was like Silk Road and things like that is from what I understand is when you go into something like that, is you go in with your Bitcoin and then you buy, like, it's like going to a casino. You go in there with your money and you buy poker chips. So you're not actually trading with or gambling with your actual Bitcoins. You're using the chips, the house chips, and then when you cash out, you get your Bitcoins back. And that's what a lot of these altcoins are for.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and just for anyone out there on YouTube and stuff, can you just say a couple of the different altcoins and, you know, tell us what your thoughts are, what ones you like the best, or what ones you've experimented with?
Well, for as far as altcoins go, you know, I can't really recommend any of them, but, you know, right now there's so many of them, and there's got to be at least 10 new ones a day. Last time I looked, there were like 735 of them listed on one of the tracking websites that tracked how many of them there was.
And as a kind of trader, just sorry, Jamie, I understand sometimes when we've been kind of doing the altcoin buying and selling the stuff, what I see as a trend is a new altcoin comes out, everyone jumps on it, starts mining it. As soon as the value goes up a little bit, it kind of flops and everyone jumps back to Bitcoin. And I keep seeing that again and again. And I think it's within the last kind of week we've had Max Coin, you know, Max Kaiser, have his own coin. He was pumping up silver. It was only a year ago, it seemed, and now he's got his own coin. I think he owns 22 million quid's worth of Bitcoin. If I may be wrong, feel free to correct me, any listeners out there.
I don't know what he actually holds or what his wealth is. I never even knew who the guy was until about a week or two ago.
Yeah, Russian propaganda is working real hard.
Yeah, I just heard about him a couple weeks ago, and I got him on my Twitter feed now, and I watched his show a couple times. But but the way when you get into trading those altcoins, I compare it to, you know, it's like playing roulette. They go up and down so fast. A lot of them come out and they're complete scams, and they're good for a day or two, and then they find out they're a scam, and everybody loses their money in them. And, you know, because there's still a lot of people out there looking for the get-rich-quick scheme.
I think that, and this is a little tip for anyone out there that kind of falls in that trap. What we've seen a lot is that pumping and dumping. They will be saying on the Twitter feed, saying, right guys, we're going for the pump. Yep. You've already missed the pump if they're saying that. they were pumping it, and suddenly you'll see the price create a wall on on the chart. You'll see the chart create a wall. That's where the pump is going up. They've made their bet low. They've done an automatic trade so that as soon as it hits the number. So, you know, and I really am against that, because for me, that's the same fucking greedy stockbroking bastards jumping into the Bitcoin space or the altcoin space and trying to do the same game there. And like you say, Jamie, the house always wins.
Yup. It's gambling, and that's what I really want to make people aware of. If they get into trading on MintPal or, you know, Polynex or Bitrex or any of those exchanges, it's the same thing as getting in on playing poker or a slot machine or anything like that. Your chances are you're going to lose money. You're not going to make money at it. If you're looking to get rich at anything, a get-rich-quick scheme, there's no easy money in the world. You might get lucky once, and I mean, there's always a chance of getting lucky once. It's like getting struck by lightning. But
and when it comes to the world of pump and dump, you will get struck twice.
yeah, for as far as losing, you'll lose 9 times out of 10.
Absolutely, and this is why, you know, a lot of people, and some people have asked me about the kind of pump and dump strategy, and I've said no. You know, come into Bitcoin, use it first as a saving commodity, treat it like gold, collect it, save it, build it, learn how to use it. Like you said the other night when we were talking about basic safety of wallets, you become your own bank, so it's your responsibility. You know, two-factor authentication, blah, 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 on your email and all those kind of things. You have to take responsibility for your security, because otherwise there's a lot of people that lost money out there using Bitcoin. They've kept all their money on one Bitcoin wallet, and I actually recommend, you know, YouTube sloppy wallets. Any of you listeners out there, there's a great guy that talks about, you know, just good practices with wallets and that sort of thing. The second stage, once you're an advanced user like yourself, Jamie, and us, is to start using it, you know, to purchase things, to buy things. You have a small wallet that you inject some money into it, and you use that as your kind of a day-to-day wallet.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into that a little bit? Because I know a lot of people out there will want to know the kind of good practices of Bitcoin usage.
Well, I just want to compare it to like the wallet or the money you carry on you when you're walking down the street. You don't carry, you know, you don't carry everything that you have in the bank with you on your person. You know, you only carry what you need for, you know, for the day or whatever, and that's all you should really have on your phone or whatever for Bitcoins. Like on this thing here, I just have, you know, I think I got $35 on here worth of Bitcoin. So if I forget this somewhere or lose it or whatever, I'm not going to be out my life savings. But, you know, so you're going to want to have more than one Bitcoin wallet and one Bitcoin address. But this, if I want to take it somewhere, I can use it, and you know, there's enough on there that I can buy something small or whatever. If I want to buy something big, I can go home, transfer the money to a different wallet, and then transfer it to whoever I'm buying it from.
And this is why anyone out there that's new to the Bitcoin and the whole kind of using it and that sort of stuff, we really beg you guys, do your homework, you know, practice with a little bit, small little hot wallets, or take it into cold storage, learn to sweep wallets, that sort of thing. And this is why I had a kind of bit of frustration with the guys on Facebook kind of going, oh, you know, cashless society, you know, everyone's trying to control us, and, you know, they control our lives, because, you know, this is taking the power back into your hands. There's no middlemen, there's no one inflating your cash, there's no one messing with it. but it's your responsibility. If you lose your wallet or if you go sending blindly to addresses, it's gone in the ether. And I'm sure you've heard stories. We've all heard stories of people losing, some people hundreds of thousands of dollars or pounds, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the same thing, like I say, is you wouldn't go carrying around, you know, well, one Bitcoin is worth 600 US dollars, or what's that in pounds, like 400 pounds,
Mm,
450 pounds.
mm,
You, you know, just an average guy doesn't carry that much money around on in his pocket or in his billfold, his wallet.
mm.
So, you know, you aren't going to carry that much money around on your phone. You know, just what you're going to use. If you go, you know, if you plan on using more, put a little bit more money in there, a little more Bitcoin in that wallet, but you don't need to keep a lot in that one, and then keep what you're saving separate, and then maybe have something for kind of I have I have a savings wallet, and then I have a home wallet that I have
Mm-hmm.
kind of a medium stash in, and then I have my portable wallet.
Mm-hmm. So it's having, you know, different usages for different wallets, and you know, using them in the correct way. But just jumping back to some of the things we were talking about the other day as well, about obviously the whole Bitcoin code is open source. You know, do you want to run through some of the notions of kind of donationware and shareware and that sort of thing?
Yeah, you know, a lot of business people are really stuck on this digital rights management and intellectual property and things. And you and I are both come from musicians' backgrounds, and we've been put in tough spots before for, you know, copyright and things like that, where, you know, oh, we can't let people download our music for free or anything because that hurts the industry.
Mm.
And, you know, I've always had the thing where, well, it's not so much the song itself, it's the performances and the extra added features and extra access and stuff that a company or an artist or somebody brings to the consumer that gives it value. So I see a lot of things out there now for software and music and things that, like donationware and things that software that are free for home use but charge for business use. One great example of that is software, like AVG antivirus was a software. Norton antivirus ticked me off way back, like in year 2000, with their copy protection, because their copy protection was broken and the software would quit working, and you had to call them on the telephone and prove to them you weren't a thief, and nothing pisses off a customer more than treating them like a thief.
Yeah.
And so I quit using Norton products. I had used them since I'd gotten into computers, and that was since the beginning of computers. And so I quit, and I found AVG antivirus, and I liked their product. I started using their free version for home, and then I brought it to where I worked, and they charged for the work version. And so I bought it for all the computers at work, which was like 1,000 of them. So that company had a yearly license for, you know, bulk licenses for business of however much, which was still half the price or a quarter of the price of what Norton Antivirus was for their product. But we were happy to pay what they wanted for their licensing fee, and we gladly paid them. And everybody I worked with had the free version on their home computers, but we had the paid version on our work computers. So that's one way that free software helps, is if you let the free version go at home, then the people see it and get a chance to try it. And then just donationware, one example I can say is last week I found this great software, or 2 weeks ago, for Android that was donationware, and I tried it out and I wrote a review on it because I really liked it, and they wrote back to me that night or the next day and were like, oh yeah, try this, we fixed that, yeah, the one thing you didn't like about it. And I tried it the next day and I'm like, wow, that's incredible. I mean, I never even got that kind of service from software I paid $60 for up front.
And I think that this is a part of a trend, that the way technology changes and makes things that previously used to cost free, essentially free. And that's how I feel that the kind of Bitcoin technology also, it's making, banking, MasterCard, all these kind of transactions, Western Union, they're going to have to start reviewing their own business models and their own prices, and PayPal as well. I understand the CEO's already signaled that he's thinking, he's got some Bitcoin himself, and it actually reminds me of a kind of the concept of a kind of net zero society. That's where we're heading. The kind of huge reduction in kind of marginal costs that shook the industries, and is now beginning to, kind of reshape energy, manufacturing, and education. I mean, people can get a free degree online, and it's making things free, and obviously the kind of phenomenon has kind of even penetrated the manufacturing sector. We was talking about 3D printers. Do you want to kind of cover that? Because I think that's a great topic.
Oh, yeah. And, well, just finish up what I was saying about that software. But they contacted me back the next day. So I'm like, well, this is great. I gave them $10 and I told everybody I know about that software. So they probably sold more and, got more downloads. But, I'm a firm believer in word-of-mouth advertising. That's better than any billboard you can put up. And so things like that. But yeah, 3D printers is another thing with, we had talked about Cody Wilson and some of the stuff he's done with that. It's just, the idea is like, Star Trek, they wanted something, they punched it in like a vending machine and it came out.
And wouldn't that be useful? You're sitting there, you could be Africa, you could be Antarctica, you could be anywhere, and Jamie, we need some new spoons, and just download the open source CAD file and we make some spoons, and I think that that's going to be a really, really progressive technology in the future. Did you mention the other day that they're now 3D printing with metal?
Yeah, there's been some metal printers out there that you put in, I'm not sure if it's a powder or what, and it melts it. I didn't really get a chance to look into it, but yeah, it comes out and it's a hard metal. It's just...
So that means a whole range of different, devices that can be stronger, less surfaces that are fixed. I think that's absolutely innovative. Car engine parts, the list goes on and on and on, a whole range of different things. And I think that this is the future that we're heading towards because of computers, 3D printing, open source software. It's heading to a society where, the kind of near zero, marginal cost of products and services, and I think it's going to be a really, really interesting next 20 years. And I've only got hope, Jamie, because of the trends that we see, and I think, I really do believe that Bitcoin is going to do to money what email did to letters.
Yeah, and you know, we had talked about this too, where you know a lot of people are scared that they're going to lose their jobs over this or whatever because technology is making things like being a clerk at Walmart or some store obsolete because of self-checkouts and things. The way I look at it is, you know, with one door closing, two open, you may lose that job, but hopefully more open and there's other jobs available. Right now is the best time in my lifetime to be an entrepreneur since, you know, I didn't get in on the internet boom back in the 90s, and a lot of people lost money on that, and a lot of fortunes were made. But I see Bitcoin doing the same thing, if not 10 times greater.
And when we look at the potential applications of the blockchain technology in terms of streamlining current, you know, things like currency, obviously that's the obvious one. You know, the blockchain technology can be used for private equities, bonds, derivatives, you know, futures, forward swaps, options, and more complex variations. Of course, you know, voting. Jamie, what do you reckon of that? You know, using the blockchain to vote, everyone gets the coin, vote coin. You know, and
yeah, or
that would just revolutionise democracy. You know,
deeds for houses or your cars or
loans, spending records, microfinance, micro charity. I also think that it's going to be a fantastic utilization for public services, and that's, you know, as we saw, you know, one of the things that, and we was talking about this the other day, one of the things that we saw from the people in the US Marshall auction was that we saw just a taste of some of the people that are looking at building the businesses of tomorrow on top of the blockchain ecosystem. So, you know, when you rightly say things like, you know, loans and, you know, regulatory records or business ownership records or kind of, you know, voting, all these kind of applications that can be built on top of the blockchain, be it, as you said, you know, a whole new blockchain in itself or side chaining. Do you know much about side chaining? I've heard about that recently.
Well, I think that's kind of like I was talking about with the poker chips. And where you use your Bitcoins and then the side chain, you kind of just hold them over there for a little bit and the side chain does its thing and then you cash them back in for Bitcoins.
And we touched upon the subject. I think it'd definitely be worth mentioning. I've lost my thread now, but I'm just. You mentioned. God, I've forgotten everyone. So excited. We'll come back to it in a minute. I'm sure I remember. That happens. We're live.
Yeah. Let's see if I can. I had the great portrait that coin artist made here that I wanted to bring up that had she embedded the URL, or not the URL, but the Bitcoin address into the actual portrait. Did that come up on the screen now?
Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there we go. So that's the Bitcoin address.
And Amir Taaki. But she made this, and if you look real close in those squares, you see letters and numbers. That's, if you put them all together, it turns into a Bitcoin address.
Wow. Make your payments now.
And I get, the last I checked before we went on the air, there was, I think, 1.3 Bitcoins in that wallet. Because she's doing, I don't know what, she's got this mystery wrapped up in there, and she just put this portrait out and didn't say anything about it. She just said, this is a puzzle, and put it out there. And then somebody recognized that there was a Bitcoin address embedded in it and figured out what it was and found the wallet on the blockchain.
And took all the money. No, I'm only joking.
Well, they didn't take the money. They found out how much was in it, and then she said, okay, somebody solved the mystery that there's a Bitcoin wallet there, and now people can add to it. You know, they can, if they want to donate to it, and I think she's going to, well, I can't speculate on what she's going to do with it, but she made this portrait into a wallet.
Wow, fantastic. So this is again another way in which, you know, our band, the Singing Pictures, you know, we left a message, encoded a ASCII message in the blockchain somewhere, and you know, and it allows people to donate. You know, people can use to donate to artists and then give to artists and that sort of thing. So I think it's fantastic. I really get a great feeling. Tell us about what we spoke about the other day when we was talking about, obviously, the decentralization versus centralization.
Okay, we only got 2 minutes left here, so...
2 minutes left? We've only just got started. All you listeners out there.
Yeah, you know, everything now, there's a huge trend towards decentralization where it's just everybody's going to take a little part and do it in their house or, you know, somewhere else instead of having these massive work centers and computer server centers all in one place. If we can distribute that work out to the people's computers, and that's what this mesh networking and things like that.
Now that was what I forgot about earlier that I wanted to bring up, mesh networking.
Yeah,
take it away, Jeremy.
And we're made safe and things like Etherium and that, where they you can basically, it's like renting out a part of your computer and your bandwidth to the internet, and you're creating part of a new internet that's secure, and you got the storage space and computer space.
And I think it's very similar to BitCloud. Some of the guys over there trying to do it. That's an ISP-less system of enabling, you know, mobile devices. And when we think about the Internet of Things, where everything's got, you know, connectivity and bandwidth and storage space and mobile usage, you know, this kind of mesh networking concept is a real decentralized, liberating form of, connectivity. And you mentioned that people could potentially donate a portion of their hard drive, you know, and receive a little bit of Bitcoin for the effort and for the bandwidth.
Yeah, and I don't know, it sounds fantastic to me because you can share part of your phone as the processing power of your phone and the bandwidth from that, or your tablet or your laptop or your desktop. I mean, if you got an extra USB hard drive or something, or a cloud drive, or like one of those drives that just automatically plugs into your router or something, you can put that on there. It sounds really amazing, and unlike, you know, like Tor and those things, the only thing you really got, a lot of people would get on them, download their music, and then get off of there as soon as they got what they wanted. They wouldn't stay on there and contribute to the network.
So yeah, go on.
I think these things solve that problem by you're actually getting paid for the time you spend online.
So that's a real game-changing, decentralizing technology.
Yeah, because it adds that extra incentive of actually your computer is sitting there earning money for you when it's on the internet, or when it's, you know, when it's available for connections, and then it gets a rating, kind of like eBay. You know, people have ratings on there on their transactions and stuff. With MadeSafe, I know from what I've heard about it, is each person has a vault, I think it is they call it, and then they get a rating on their CPU power, their internet connection, on how much bandwidth they got or whatever, their ping, and these different factors that all factor in then on how much they're going to earn for having that computer or node on the network.
Mm.
And
So
then for each one, that stems out, they're like a bridge that extends the network. So the farther they make hops, so you don't have to have a central tower or something close to you. You can just link a bunch of these in, as long as you're in range of the closest device or closest Wi-Fi, somebody with a phone, you're going to be connected to the network.
fantastic.
I think that's probably the best I can explain it from the news I've heard. I'm hoping to get Paige from MadeSafe on the show one of these times. She was in Bitcoin in the Beltway in DC this weekend, so she was going to be traveling this weekend, so I couldn't get her on today. But
That's good, because it's almost like, with all this stuff with the NSA and privacy and more people realizing about their own information that's kind of on the net, and the visibility of that and people's habits and advertising and all that thing, it really creates a kind of bad feeling about the good feeling that the internet gave, that you could look at what you wanted to, and it's, every man is his own religion,
yeah.
and rather than building systems on top of a cheese hole system, it's like redesigning the system from the ground up, which I think is classic great innovation, and there comes a point where sometimes it's like you always plug in the holes in something, and it's like, sorry, you just got to build from the bottom up, a nice clean boat, one that's not letting any water in. So I think it's going to be really good when we see some of those different mesh network technologies come out. And I think there, especially as the Internet of Things comes and you get more connectivity of devices that are got CPU and space and bandwidth, we're going to see more of those kind of systems come online, and it would be fantastic to hear Paige's story and learn some of the kind of textile behind that.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of Bitcoin and this mesh networking stuff is based over in the UK. I believe Paige is kind of the United States representative for them, and she's based in San Francisco in the US, which is like 2,000 miles away from me, so
a bit far.
it's a bit of a hike, but like we were saying before, this Google Hangouts, distance isn't a factor anymore.
I mean, the International Space Station is closer to you than it is to me, but thanks to Google.
Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap this
on the
up.
show, dude, and it's been a fantastic conversation, and hope to come on board again, and we get some other people on and try to get a round table going on. And I suppose any questions out there from the public or anyone on YouTube, and hit up Jamie, hit up us, and join the conversation, because the bit's hitting the fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Put your questions in the comments down below if you have any, or if you have any comments. I want to thank everybody that made comments last week. I made some stupid comments about the size of Europe fitting into Alaska. Somebody actually went and did the math and looked up the square kilometers, and I was wrong.
But thanks to the support of the listeners, we now know more things.
Yes. So I was thinking maybe I should put an Easter egg in each show about, something that's totally erroneous that see who picks up on it.
They love proving people wrong. There's
Yeah,
always someone on the internet somewhere trying to prove someone else wrong on the internet.
but
That's the beauty.
yeah, I wasn't taking into account Russia and Turkey as part of the Europe.
Yeah, but Russia would be Eurasia, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently not.
Right. I think Europe. Well, this is the thing. We got Ukraine, and we got the new Berlin Wall being set up further east against Russia and Ukraine. We need to get David Hasselhoff back again and push that wall down and make peace. I've
Yeah,
been looking for freedom.
when I was a kid, I grew up in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was president. I mean, the, there was still a Berlin Wall. Europe was a lot smaller then.
Absolutely.
All right.
Changing world, changing geopolitics, bright new future ahead. That's what I say.
Yep, they changed the size of the continents on us. So it was great having you on, Shem. I thank you again. And
Thank you.
until next week, this has been When the Bit Hits the Fan.